In this video, I'll show you how to connect your Google Drive account and your Google Sheets, Docs, and Slides if you want to use any one of those within your workflow automations. You want to do a search for Google Drive to start off with. And then for the credentials, we want to click on Create New Credential. And then you're going to come in here and see this client ID and client secret. To get this information, you actually need to do some stuff on Google's side first. And then anytime you're setting these credentials up, you can see up here in the top, N8N actually has some really good documentation to show you the steps, but some people prefer to actually see it in a video. That's why I'm making this. So click on this link to open the docs. And each time you set up a credential, you get a very similar page that looks something like this. It'll tell you the steps you need to proceed through it. Now, future reference, it does come up and say you need to create an account. You do not need to actually have a business Google account for this to work. I just created a free Gmail account for this channel so that way I can use it and not have to blur out my email all the time. Just to prove that you don't actually need to have a business account. You don't need to pay for anything for this to work. But you do need to go to this Google Cloud Console first. At the top left, you want to select a project. If you already have a project, you can just select it. But in this case, we're going to pick a new one. So the top right in this little pop-up, click on New Project. You do need to name it, and it does need to have at least, I think, 6 characters on it. So we're just going to say N8N demo, but name it something appropriate for whatever you want to name it. It doesn't really matter, and the location doesn't really matter in this case. So I'm just hitting Create. And you'll see these pop-ups at the top right. Once it's all done, we can now hit Select Project, and you'll see it now shows N8N Demo at the top. On the left, we want to click on API Services, and then choose Library. In here, we need to select the APIs that we want to enable so that N8N can talk back and forth. So we're going to look for Drive. We want to choose the Google Drive API. And we need to click Enable. We need to enable Google Drive so that any of the other Google apps, such as Sheets and Docs and Slides, will work. So click on Enable. Okay, now that the Google Drive API is now enabled, which you can see right here in the middle, status enabled. Let's go ahead and do the other ones while we're here. So do a search for Sheets, and type in or select Google Sheets API. I'm going to click Enable. So while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and do the Docs. I'm also going to do Slides just because. Okay, once you have enabled the API and all the apps that you want to use, on the left you want to choose OAuth Consent screen. And then just choose Get Started. Then the app name, we're going to say N8N. User support email. You need to have an email in here, so just choose the email that you're logged in with for your Google account, and then choose Next. And then because we're using the free version, we just need to choose External. Choose Next. Contact information, just put your same email in there, and choose Next. Then you agree, continue, and then create. And then at the far right here, underneath this window that I can't close, create OAuth Client. Application type, we want to choose Web Application. And then the name, we just want to choose N8N. And then under Authorized Redirect URIs, click on Add URI. And then we want to go back to N8N and grab this OAuth Redirect URL. Click to copy. Then paste it in here, and then say Create. This will then give you a client ID and a client secret. So client ID, copy that, paste it in the client ID, then client secret, copy that, paste it in the client secret. And once you have both of those in there, it'll ask you to sign in. You need to make sure you sign in with the same Google account that you just used on that previous site. If you get this kind of a message saying access blocked, you need to go in and add your email as a test user. To do that, we're going to have to get out of this screen. So you can either copy these into a notepad or something temporarily, or I can show you where to get them again. So it's not like it's the end of the world if you lose them. So choose OK. All right, so then on the left-hand side, we want to choose Audience. And under Test Users, click on Add Users. And then in here, we want to choose the email that we have been using to set this up and hit Save. And then when you hit Save, it just does this little bubble thing. We need to hit Save again for it to actually add it. See, now you should see your email down here. So if we go back, sign in with Google, and click on your email, you'll now see an option, hasn't verified this app. It's okay, but at least you don't get the same error. Choose Continue. And hit Select All. Continue. So we can close out of this. Okay, so I changed it to a change specific file just to show you. I just have those 3 files in my Google Drive and they're at least popping up here now. So any Google Drive documents you'll see in that list. Now if we go back and we try to add in a Sheets node, we're going to have to set up the credentials. Now, Google Sheets is nice. You just need to sign in with your Google account again, like we have been. Choose your account, hit Continue, and Google Sheets is done. If that's all you need, then you're good to go. You can close out of this and continue on your way. If you need to use Google Docs or Google Slides, for instance, you do need that secret information again. So if we come in here, create a new credential, this is under Google Docs now. So it's looking for that client ID and client secret again. So if we go back to the Google Cloud dashboard here, click on the clients, and then click on the edit on the far right, you can now see your client secret, or sorry, client ID, and then client secret. So same deal, just copy this. Client ID, then client secret. And then sign in with Google. Sign in, continue, select all, continue. It is now set up. So with Google Docs, you actually need to choose the document ID or the URL of the document. It doesn't give you a nice search like Google Drive or Google Sheets do. So I'll show you a way to get that information in a little bit here. And then while we're at it, we might as well just add Google Slides, because it's the same kind of information that you need. You just need to grab that client ID again. And then client secret. And then sign in with Google is now connected. So same deal with the Google Docs. You need to actually have the presentation ID. So if you're trying to use these two, you're actually going to need to use the Google Drive to get the ID of the document that you want to add or modify to be able to use some of these nodes. Now, if you're just trying to create a new document, then you don't need to do that. So for now, I'm going to temporarily disable all these with the keyboard shortcut D for disable, or deactivate, should say. So now to get the ID for either the Google Docs or Google Slides nodes, you will need to use the Google Drive node first. So in here, search for Google Drive, and then search files or folders. And then you already have your account authorized and everything up there. Search files or folder names. So in this case, I'm going to look up documents, since I literally have a document called demo document. Execute step. It'll find it, and then that's the ID. So then what you want to do next is add the Google Doc after that node. So we want to say like updated document, for instance. It's going to ask for document ID or URL. You can drag this over, put it in there. And then just for example, adding a new line to the document. And if we execute, it says it's successful, and open up the demo document, forgot a space, you can at least see that it worked. And you would do the same process for Google Slides as well. Now with Google Sheets, like I mentioned earlier, you don't need to do all that stuff. They actually made it pretty nice. For instance, if we go to that, we can just choose a document. So like a demo sheet, I literally just have a file demo sheet. You need to choose the sheet that you want to use. And then I literally just have a name and description. So name and demo. And if I execute, shows you name, and we go to my demo sheets, we have, so that is how you can connect your Google Drive and your Google Sheets, documents, and slides. If you have any other questions or concerns or any suggestions for future topics, leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching and hope you have a great rest of your day.